I want you to play me a sunrise. I said, what? Play me a sunrise. I hear you play things that are just made up. You don't always have to play Beethoven and Bach. You can sometimes play Bestor. We play music. We don't work music. And the word play, don't squeeze that out of the equation. There's too much emphasis placed on sit down and play one song, make it perfect, rather than, make mistakes. Music is human. We play what's in our heart, and then the people that listen with their hearts, and that connection is uniquely human. Music, to me, isn't just notes. It's emotions, it's deep feelings, it's the space between the words. Music is not what I do for a living, it's who I am.
Today, I'm honored to sit down with two-time Emmy Award-winning and Grammy-nominated artist and composer, Kurt Bestor, a musician whose work has shaped beloved holiday traditions and major moments in film and television. Renowned for his best-selling collection, The Complete Kurt Bestor Christmas, and the powerful anthem, Prayer of the Children, Kurt launched his career scoring films and national broadcasts and earned an Emmy for his music in the 1988 Winter Olympics. He later had the opportunity to conduct his music during the 2002 Winter Olympic closing ceremonies and was an honored Olympic torchbearer. With more than 40 film scores and decades of sold-out concerts that blend sweeping orchestration with heartfelt storytelling, Kurt's career reflects both artistic excellence and deep humanity. Well, Kurt, welcome. We are so excited to have you on More Than Musicians.
It is great to be here.
I saw you had a birthday this week. Had to wish you a happy birthday before we get started.
I had a birthday. Yeah, it's getting scary now. I've gotten into some serious high numbers.
Seriously high numbers. I don't know if I believe you because I've seen you also on the ski slopes this week.
Yeah, that is my tradition. I go skiing on my birthday. I love skiing. Next to music, skiing is probably the thing I love most. And it's I feel actually when I ski kind of musical, kind of creative. You don't know what you're going to do, but you're in a flow. It feels good.
Yeah.
There's something, and it's dopamine, it's beauty. It's kind of musical in a way.
I feel that. I've lived here my whole life. I broke my leg skiing as a kid, and I've just always been so scared of it going back. My kids are actually with my husband up skiing right now, and I need to get back up there.
You need to do, and that where you broke your leg is stronger.
It is.
Right? It's like life, where you break something, it's becomes stronger. So don't worry about that.
It's true.
Look at Lindsey Vonn. No, don't look at Lindsey.
Oh, I was going to say that example. But we're going to talk about the Olympics, and I'm excited to get there.
Good.
Your career, Kurt, is so vast. You've had such a global impact, and I'm really excited to unpack it. I kind of want to start with my natural interest, which is just, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Well, most people think I'm from Utah, and I've been in Utah most of my life, but I'm originally from Wisconsin. I'm a cheesehead.
Okay.
My family, German and Swiss. In fact, my mom grew up in a little town where they didn't speak English that much. Wow. They spoke German until this war broke out over in Germany, and then they stopped speaking German.
Yeah.
Kind of fell out of favor. But my mom and dad both came from Wisconsin. So we had a really weird thing happen. My dad was a coach, was a swimming and diving, football, coaching, all kinds of stuff. And he was really good. And so he got invited to go up the next step, right? From high school up to college. He got invited for two jobs.
Okay.
One of them was University of New Mexico. And the other one was this weird place we'd never heard of called BYU, Brigham Young University.
Okay.
But we thought, well, we'll stop in Provo, Utah, where it is, and then we'll go down to probably take the job in New Mexico. But we came to Provo, and it was one of those days, I think it was fall. There was some snow on the mountains, but it was still colors.
Yes.
And we kind of turned to each other. My dad said, guys, this is the place. And so we stayed. So I've been in Utah most of my life.
You know what? BYU in the fall does have a magical effect. And so I don't blame you for wanting to stay. And now you're so well known here. You're a staple in the Utah music scene. And so fun that you could make it out here. We're all so lucky. I wanted to talk to you about your musical influences. In particular, I've heard you speak of your mom being an influence. Could you tell us about that?
Well, so I told you about my dad, and my dad was the coach. Mm-hmm. My mom was the yin to his yang. Dad, and your husband's a football player, he'll remember Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi was my dad's hero.
Okay.
Not a guy you're going to invite to your birthday.
For warm and fuzzy feelings.
Yeah, he's a coach. That was my dad's hero. My mom was a sweet Swiss, wonderful woman, an English teacher of some note. And so my dad would go, get in and practice your piano. And my mom, would come in and she could see I was frustrated. Maybe I can even show you what it was like. So pretend like you're in the Bestor household. I'm in my pajamas and I'm having to play a tune here. I really hate piano lessons. I don't want to practice piano. Mom said, okay, Kurt, I can see you're frustrated. And I probably wasn't playing that well.
I was like, that sounds good.
Put your music away. And I go, oh, great. I get to quit. No, I don't want you to quit. I want you to play me a sunrise. So what? Play me a sunrise. I hear you sitting at the piano and I hear you play things that are just made up. And I used to play the Time magazine. You know what Time magazine is? All right. So I would take Time magazine. I ask a young person like you, do you know what a magazine is? Well, anyway, so I would open up the stories and whatever the story felt like, I would change the music.
How cool.
Like if it was a war, if it was sports. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was just kind of messing around. That's how I read the newspaper and read Time magazine. So anyway, my mom had seen me make music up. And so she said intuitively, just play me a sunrise. I think I was about 9 or 10. I said, okay. So I sat down and I did that. And when I got done, she said, you don't always have to play Beethoven and Bach. You can sometimes play Bestor. It's, you have a gift of writing music. Maybe you won't be the best piano player in the world, but you've got something. So don't give it up. And so maybe, I even thought, we have the piano here, coincidentally. Maybe I would play, I'll play Sunrise. I'll play today's Sunrise. Okay, so we're recording this in February, almost March. It's a little warmer than it should be, but I'll just do a Sunrise. All right, so I have no idea. World premiere. Here we go.
I'd love to hear it.
The sun has risen. Now that's
amazing.
Well, for me, it's not really amazing. It's just me playing what's in my head, making mistakes. Who cares? But it's kind of, that's where it started. I mean, thanks to my mom. I also had a piano teacher. The piano teacher would listen to me play and I would play Bach, like I did before, but I go,
change the meter.
I would just kind of jazz it up.
Yeah.
And now some piano teachers would probably slap your finger and say, don't do that. But this piano teacher, like my mom, recognized that there was something in me. And she said, at the recital, play it twice, the way Bach wrote it and the way Bestor wrote it. And so I'd play two different versions. And again, thanks to a great mom and a great teacher and other teachers I had in my career, it was okay to be a little different. And I think that's always kind of been my moniker, a little outside the box, old man, long hair. I've just been a little unique.
Well, I love to hear that because I don't know how well you are familiar with my background, but we own music schools here in the state. We own 12 and then we own 35 nationwide. And so I am so passionate about catering to each child. That's why I wanted to start our studio is I couldn't be the best teacher for every kid, And so I think that combined with the fact that, I also had a dad who had a musical mom who would kind of be maybe more, let's practice, let's get it going. But I had a dad who would come in and just lay on the floor. Say, play something for me. And there's so much confidence that can come from being able to have permission to do it the Bestor way or do it the Sarah way.
Yeah, music, I just think there's too much emphasis placed on sit down and play one song, make it perfect. And, rather than, make mistakes. There's a lot of talk these days about AI. And, are you worried, Kurt, about music? I said, no, because music is human. Music is the word humanities. It has the word human in it.
Yeah.
And we play what's in our heart. And then the people that listen with their hearts. And that connection is uniquely human. Yeah, we can replicate tunes with AI. That's fine. But you can't feel the heart. You can't connect with it. Nobody's going to go to a concert hall and watch a computer play.
Yeah.
If they do, that's a terrible concert. But anyway, so having kids just play and have fun. I tell people that all the time. I started when I was 7. I didn't start when I was 4.
Right.
People sometimes, I got to get my kids started. And other people say, I know you've heard this at your schools, I'm sure. Well, I don't want to push my kid because they might not like music.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's like saying, I don't want to feed my kid too much ice cream because they might not like ice cream. Everybody loves music. It's who we are.
Plenty of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I love hearing your perspective on that. It's great for me, but it's also great for the people that listen to this podcast. Yeah. Parents out there who want their kids to succeed, to find that, emotional outlet in music, but maybe aren't the ones going down that classical path. There is room for every student. I
just thought of this. I've never said this before, but we play music. We don't work music. That just hit me as you were talking. We play music. And the word play, don't squeeze that out of the equation. Yeah. Let your kids play. Yeah, make them do their scales if they need to have the technique.
The technical, yeah.
I actually use the two different terms when I talk about music. There's the craft of music, which is the technical side.
Yeah.
If you're like me, learning how to orchestrate for the orchestra, learn how to the form of music and so forth. As a piano player, just learning how to play the notes and so forth, sight reading. But then there's the art of music.
Yeah.
And the art of music is probably the way to teach that is just listen to other people, but also just make music. Yeah. Just make music. And with that, whatever your craft will allow you to do. But it's the reason why I try to get my craft to the highest level is because I want what's in my brain not to be hindered by what my fingers can't play. And of course, I write music without the piano. Sometimes I write music on a computer, different things.
Yeah.
But anyway, little advice.
I think part of developing the artistry is exposing them to, so that's honestly why I'm super passionate about the Utah music local scene is supporting the artists because our kids can be inspired when they go to a concert like yours.
Well, it's again, if we just go to school to get a degree to make money, shame on us. Music and arts are what make us human. It's how I talk a lot, as you can tell, but when I can't think of the right thing to say, music is what I use. I say music is the space between the words. It's when I can't think, and I have a little thing I do called Between the Notes, and that where I talk about music, making music. And it's ironic that somebody talks as much as I do, actually can't sometimes think of the words, but I can think of the music.
When I started the piano place 10 years ago, I had no idea how deeply music would impact people. I've watched shy kids find confidence, teens discover an emotional outlet, and families strengthen their homes through music. At the piano place, we match every student with a teacher who fits them, their unique goals, and personality. Everything from our recitals to our state-of-the-art studio locations are designed to inspire creativity from the moment you walk in the door. Our tagline, Making More Than Musicians, gives insight to our main mission, which is to help kids stick with it and learn the great life lessons all along the way. With 12 locations across Utah, it's never been easier to get started. You can visit thepianoplaceutah.com and mention More Than Musicians, and you'll get your first lesson free. Give us a call today at 801-893-2417, and our team will get you taken care of. We look forward to seeing you around the studio. At what point in your growing up did you feel like music was what you wanted to pursue, like long term?
Well, like most people, when you get asked what you want to be once you're in like high school or junior high, even, you used to say fireman, doctor, lawyer, whatever. When you get to high school, you start to think, oh, I got to really think about this. And I wanted to do music, but that was highly, not, my parents never said don't do it, but everybody else was saying, oh, well, it could be a hobby.
How are you going to make any money?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I have my opinion about that. But
yes.
Anyway, so I thought, okay, well, I'll probably be an architect because I liked architecture and that seemed creative. And I could come home from a day on the job and do my music. But two things happened. Okay. Number one, I didn't know what, I didn't want to teach, but I said, what do I do? And so two things happened. Number one, I went to a movie and I heard this theme. By now, you know what the song, you could hum
iconic, yes.
That's iconic. And that was way back in the late 70s, Jaws. I didn't know who John Williams was. But all I knew, it clicked. Oh, somebody made money writing two notes.
A lot of money.
A lot, yeah, and more than that. But I mean, more notes than two. But yeah. It's just hit me. I never thought somebody made a living doing that.
Yeah.
The very same year, I was a trumpet player in high school. The very same year, I get a call from the Donnie and Marie show. Donnie Osmond, Marie Osmond. Some of you young people may not know who they are, but they're pretty iconic. Them. Yeah, they're great. And I was a trumpet player in high school, and my student teacher played percussion for the Donnie and Marie show. So word had gotten out that there's this kid who's pretty good on the trumpet. Their trumpet player got sick in L.A. because he would fly up, and he got sick, and they said, we need a third trumpet player. And so I got a call saying, hey, Kurt, can you skip school and play trumpet? Now, I was kind of a nerd. I never wanted to skip school ever. I was like, it makes, even to say it now.
Stress you out.
It does. Yeah. I wanted to be 4.0 boy. I wanted to go to school. Kind of came from my dad. Anyway, I said, oh, man, I don't know if I can do that. And he goes, well, it pays $40 an hour. I said, okay.
It's pretty good, yeah.
So I did. I went and played a recording session. That was the first time I ever played in the studio. And I'm playing trumpet and I'm hearing the music in my ears and then we went in the booth and listened and I thought, this is cool. I love this. Next thing that happened is about a week later, they asked me to come again. And then they said, Kurt, we understand from Kenny, the percussionist, student teacher guy, that you write music because I had written some things at school. I go, yeah, sure. I can write some music. He goes, well, we have Dick Van Dyke coming. We need somebody to write a little play on for him. It's like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I could do in almost 45 seconds these days. It wouldn't take me very long. But back then it was like, I said, sure, I'll do it. And I went home and cried and laid in a fetal position, not knowing how I was going to do it. But somehow I did. And I wrote this little thing, went to the studio, played trumpet on my piece. Dick Van Dyke, the legend, still alive, 100 years old. He played it. I mean, he came on to the show to my music.
Wow.
And those two things, seeing Jaws, John Williams, having my music played, I'm all in. That's all I want to do. I didn't even want to go to school anymore. I just want to do that. Now I did go to school, but I had a mind single to doing that. And I was going to just write film music for the rest of my life.
Okay.
But it changed a little bit. But I was in music. That was it.
Going to school to hone the craft, right? To get the skill set.
Absolutely.
And you went where?
I went to BYU.
Okay.
I went to BYU, which was interesting. I was a Catholic boy at the time. I went to BYU my first semester. I was Catholic. And then the second semester, my whole family became Mormon. So tuition went down.
You got a tuition
discount.
break.
I didn't do it for that, but... And so, yeah, my dad was taught at BYU. So I got and I got a scholarship in swimming. as well as music.
How cool.
And just, my life has been full of teachers. I started with my mom, and then I had my piano teacher, Florence Britch. And then I had Newell Daly, who was my trumpet teacher, who actually baptized me into the LDS Church. He was a teacher of mine in jazz and in music. I can mark all along the way these teachers that kind of recognized something in me and pushed me along, and pushed me. I mean, I was motivated myself, but they kind of pushed me even more. And also, like your dad, and they said, "Hey, Kurt, I really like that song. Play it again." They were my audience. They gave me that.
The encouragers of our music are, I don't know how you feel towards them now, but the people I think in my life that have been the ones to just, here, let me hear you play, like they mean so much to me. They, like, our bond, I feel like, is so strong because I feel so much gratitude towards them.
I know I wouldn't be where I am without most of them. I mean, I'd be probably something in music, but who knows? And even my student teacher, who was my student teacher, he gave me the gig with the Osmonds. So I continue, it's funny though, I continue to be curious. And I think that's the other thing. I didn't go to school to get a job in music. I went to school to just be better at music so I could capture what's in my head, so I could realize what I'm dreaming of, not to make money. That'll happen, I mean, just be passionate, just love what you do. And I love music. I just love it. I never get tired of it. Like I said, I'm ancient of days, but I love writing music, and I want to be better. I always want to be better. I look at John Williams, who's 94, and he just did another movie, and I look at him and say, he's amazing. From that very first time of John Williams to when I finally got to meet him.
Did you?
Yeah, at the
Tell
Olympics.
us about that.
Well, so I've had a weird kind of connection to the Olympics. It happened serendipitously. I was working for a company who got an opportunity to write music for the 1988 Winter Olympics in Calgary. And I was scoring to make a long story short, they'd bring in footage of the day's event, and I had all these synthesizers, and they would say, okay, score this little 2-minute segment, and it'll air at 6:00 tonight. There's a lot of pressure. I was like,
that's working fast turnaround.
That was fast turnaround. I didn't really enjoy the Olympics at the time because I was just stuck in a room doing the music. But that was my first experience. It got me the Emmy Award, which is nice. But then in 2002, I got to do Olympics, the closing ceremony of music for Salt Lake City.
How cool.
And that's where I got to meet John Williams, because John Williams was commissioned to write a piece. He had done 2 or 3 pieces before. He didn't do this one. That one, that's an old one that was done in the 1900s. He did this one. Which is almost as famous as the other one. And, but he got asked to do a piece with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for the 2002 Olympics called Call of the Champions.
How cool.
And that one's famous too. You hear the Mormon Tabernacle Choir go, Sitius, Fortius. They do this big thing at the beginning, and then it's John Williams. So I got to meet him in 2002, and I told him the story about, the Jaws.
That's full circle moment.
It was cool. And it was one of those embarrassing things where I'm not worthy, and
you felt like a fanboy a little bit.
Totally. And I'm sure he's used to that because everybody thinks he's
so
amazing.
Cool.
But that was cool. And then, I was able to write music for the 2002 Olympics that was very John Williams-esque.
Yeah.
And I got to conduct. The coolest part of conducting the music was doing it live I had a choir and an orchestra, and as all the athletes came in, it was freezing cold. I never forget that. It was probably 5 degrees, which is pretty, even in Utah, that's pretty cold. But I was on cloud 9. Funny thing is I had a camera. This was before smartphones. So I had a little Canon camera, and as I was conducting, I was taking pictures behind me of all the athletes coming in. And I felt kind of nerdy about that until I realized that Beck, who is one of the artists invited, he was doing the same thing.
Everyone was getting their
Donnie
pics.
Marie were performing. They were doing the same thing. It's the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, who's not going to be excited by that?
How awesome. We love John Williams at our studio. We have a whole room devoted to him. He makes for some fun decor because you can do Jaws, you can do Harry Potter, you can do Indiana Jones and all the things. But I think it's really special to hear where the inspiration for your future career came from. Can you tell us about What came next after school? When did you feel like you had your big break?
Well, I think the Olympics in '88 were a big break because it introduced me to ABC Sports, and I started doing what I call jock rock, which is I did music for Monday Night Football.
Cool.
For 2 years, when Monday Night Football would come on, it would be my music. And which was nice because you make some money every time it plays. I was going to say,
every time it plays.
You don't make a lot of money, but you make some. And and I did music for basketball, college basketball. I did music for the Pro Bowlers tour. It was just a period of time when I was starting to write music in the next level.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally satisfying. I mean, writing music for sports is, actually, I can even remember the theme for the Monday Night Football.
Let's hear it.
See, that was the beginning. It was a pinball machine.
That's
that was a big, you could see, but the brass were playing and all that.
That's awesome.
So that kind of put me on the next trajectory. At the very same time, I started getting invitations, and I had written music for film before, small movies, but I got an invitation to work for a company called Feature Films for Families. And these are, they're not Disney movies, but they were nice. Some of them were better written than others. I wrote music for a series called Buttercream Gang. I wrote Rigoletto is the one I'm probably most known for. And that kind of got that film score thing. I did a bunch of movies, and I was also doing television themes, not just for sports. I did work for National Geographic Explorer, a bunch of things that were airing on TV. But I was not ever really satisfied. When you're kind of a work for hire, you get kind of told what, even for films. I mean, film music is wonderful. John Williams does a good job, but a lot of times, he's not the most important thing. He's got to do something kind of creepy as Indiana Jones gets lowered into the snake pit. And that's not saying, hey, listen to my music. That's like, watch Harrison Ford. So I was always thinking, I want to write music on an album. And the very first album I did was 1987, a thing called Joy Spring. And it's where I would take, I had heard the movie On Golden Pond, and I loved the music. It was Dave Grusin, who's now a friend. And I thought, I want to take hymns from my Catholic upbringing, LDS and so forth. I want to bring those in, and I want to write them in such a way to kind of deconstruct them. And kind of like what I did earlier when I just made up a song. I took the melody and, I can do that now. It's I can take, I don't know, what's a good song? All Creatures of God are King. That's from my Catholic and my Mormon upbringing. And I would that's the melody. And then I'd think, you just make up some things with the melody, and that's being an arranger. Anyway, I did the first album, Joy Spring, and then I had this idea, I have to do another album. 1988. I want to do a Christmas album. And I remember going to the record company and saying, hey, it's Lex D'Azevedo and Embryo Music at the time, old company, but people know the hymn. He goes, oh, Kurt, it's a bad decision. You don't want to do a Christmas music. It's, it's a very short period of time to sell music. And at that time, there weren't in the stores, back when they had record stores, there wasn't a place for Christmas music.
Really?
No, it's just, it was the country, western, jazz, and whatever. And then once in a while, and then there'd be the, Nat King Cole or music like that. And then, what's the name of the group? Totally spacing here. One of the first groups, I'll think in a minute, Mannheim Steamroller.
Oh, yes.
So they came out with an album, and I thought, okay, I want to do an instrumental album about Christmas music. And anyway, Lex D'Azevedo, he passed on it. And so I went to these friends of mine that I had worked on the Olympic music with and said, I have this idea. I want to take these great Christmas songs and do it my way. Like early when I was taking piano lessons, I want to do it my way.
The Kurt Bestor way.
The Kurt Bestor way. and they bought into it. So I did that album called An Era's Christmas. It's still very listened to today by even people your age. And then somebody said, well, in order to sell an album, you got to do a concert. Okay, well.
How'd you feel about that?
Well, I'm a ham, so I hadn't done a lot of performing. I did in high school. I was in theater and stuff, but I hadn't done a lot of performing since then. So I said, well, if that's what I got to do, I guess we got to do it. So in a moment of incredible bravado, I booked Bravenel Hall, and I didn't have that many friends, but we called in radio stations. Back when radio stations would play music, and I would call in and I'd say, hey, this is Joe down at the car dealership. We all love that Kurt Bestor music. And then, hi, this is,
You were doing all your marketing
I would
plugs.
do that. It's probably illegal, but I got people to help me create this thing called Kurt Bestor. I don't know who he is, but they play the music. So we started doing Christmas concerts. And of course, now I'm kind of known for that. So.
And you just finished, I read 38th season.
38th year. That's right. Older than you are.
That's truly incredible. And my question I want to ask you is, how do you keep, like you were talking about before, like you're always trying to improve it and get better. What ways, heading into the 2026 show, how are you looking at that too? Is it with collaborations? Is it bringing on other new, fresh artists? How does that work?
Music is for me a collaboration all the time.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I love about it. If I am just me and sheet music, music doesn't work. It has to have at least me write it, somebody else or me perform it, and then you have to listen to it. That's the holy troika. That's what makes music so wonderful, because it's always collaborative. It's why during the COVID pandemic, when I wasn't able to perform, it was weird. It felt bad. So we started performing on Facebook.
Right.
But it's, that's how music works. There has to be collaboration. But when I do my Christmas concerts, it pretty much starts with me. I mean, I have to think about what the show is going to be, like almost the theme of the show. And I'll tell you, I haven't told anybody this yet, but this year's theme is going to be about a more innocent, childlike approach to Christmas. Not that it's going to sound like children's music. It's just going to be looking at Christmas as the wonderful thing that it is from each of us have our memories. We all have our memories.
Yeah.
Mine take a little longer to conjure up than yours, but I remember my childhood memories. I remember getting a guitar once for Christmas. I remember getting other things. I mean, I remember where I was, the food, and I want to hone in on that a little bit. Also, with my song Prayer of the Children being so iconic in my world, it is a song about children who suffer. And so I want the concert to have children performing with me.
That will be special.
They got to be good. I'm not just doing children to do children. But there's some amazing young people who sing. And when I've had people, young girls, young boys singing Prayer of the Children, sometimes 7, 8 years old, it's the perfect sound for that song. So I'll probably do that in my show. I think about it.
That's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be fun. And I'm not nervous about it. Back when I started doing my concerts, it was just me and Tchaikovsky. There was Ballet West and Kurt Bestor Christmas. And then Mike McLean came along, started doing his Forgotten Carols about 30 years ago. And then the Tabernacle Choir said, hey, we want a piece of that. Let's jump in. Now it's wall-to-wall, y'all, Christmas concerts. But I've been doing it longer.
Well, despite there being so many options, I really do feel like your show has become part of the traditions of people surrounding Christmas. You talked about it being nostalgic. Yeah. Well, I think a Kurt Bestor Christmas concert is nostalgic and is kind of that binding tradition that a lot of people have.
I'll take it.
I went on KSL this last December, and they had me do a segment about like how Christmas music can actually deepen the nostalgia, the bonds, the feelings surrounding Christmas. And when you think back to it, a song, I listened to Mannheim Steamroller and I listened to Kurt Bestor. Those songs just like bring you back to those childhood places. Sure. So I learned that in college, you had the opportunity to attend the Sundance Film Institute's Composer Lab. Can you tell us about what that was and how that impacted your experiences?
Yeah, there's, most people are familiar with Sundance Institute, the Sundance Film Festival, Robert Redford's vision to help people in the film business. And they started a film composing lab. It was every composer's dream, not only in the United States, but around the world to attend. And here I was, 15 minutes away from Sundance where I lived. But I put in an application. I sent in some examples on tape, and I got accepted. And it was life-changing for many reasons. First of all, I'm studying with the world's great film composers, including the gentleman I mentioned, Dave Grusin, who, like I said, is a good friend of mine and writes music that resonates with me. But I had a chance to live up there and study with the world's great composers. Also, the Utah Symphony came up and would play our cues because we didn't have all the computers, synthesizers and stuff. Yeah. So we got to use the symphony.
That's awesome.
But something else happened, musical in a way. But I met a woman there. Now, at the time, I wasn't into the meeting woman stage, but I was married. But I see this girl, and her name is Patrina, which is a unique name, and she's from Africa. I'm thinking, wow, she's English, but her family's from Africa, and they've lived there for hundreds of years. And I'm thinking, well, that's fascinating. I said hi to her and saw her, and that was about it. And then 10 years later, now I'm on the board of Sundance, the Sundance Film Festival, raising money and so forth. And I see her again. And I say, hey, you're that girl from Africa. And I remembered her. She said she remembered me, but then later, we got married, she admitted she didn't know who I was. It's okay. Anyway, so I said, well, where do you live? I live in Boise now. So, I do concerts up there. Let me give you some tickets. So she would come to to that. And another 8 years go by. Now I find myself, it'll be in the book someday, I find myself I'm single. And that's neither here nor there in the story right now. But I said, I'm going to England to perform some music and record. Who do I know that can tell me what to do on my day off? Oh, that girl from Kenya, Patrina, she was educated in England. So she would probably know. So I find her number, I give her a call, say, hey, this is that Kurt Bestor guy. I'm going to be in London recording. What do you recommend I see? Because I don't want to see the typical thing. She goes, well, my mom and I will be there at the very same time.
No way.
And we'll take you around. It's just total coincidence.
That is amazing.
So we spent 2 days. I was there doing my thing, and then I would go and have dinner with her and her mom. And then the next day I had a day off. We'd walk around Kew Gardens and walk around the city. And I thought, and I was going to, no offense to your gender, but I was going to give women a break for a while.
Yeah, just have a little break from that.
Yeah, it's a little high maintenance sometimes. No offense. Anyway, I said, oh, Kurt, what are you doing? You falling for this girl.
Falling again.
So anyway, she was in Boise. I was in Salt Lake City. We kept in touch. Cell phones just come in. I bought her a cell phone just for our conversations. And the next thing you know, after a year and a half of courting and dating, we got married. So
wow,
I learned a lot at the Sundance Film Festivals, but you gained a lot. I gained a lot more.
That's an amazing story. I don't think there are coincidences.
Well,
you're supposed to know each other.
Perhaps I don't presume to understand any of that, but I will take it. It works.
You've been married for how long now?
23 years.
And you had an anniversary, was it recently?
I did, January 18th. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Well, congratulations.
She's great. And she's the total opposite of me. She's not musical. She doesn't like the spotlight. She would die in an interview like this. But last night, we had a wonderful night streaming movies and eating a wonderful birthday cake she made for me.
Yin and yang. I think relationships really thrive that way.
They should have some of that. You can talk to your dad about that.
Yeah, I'll get some. I need all the advice we can get.
So I haven't really written music for women before. I mean, it's a cheap trick, to get a date. But I did in 7th grade. I wrote a song for a girl, but that was 7th grade. But I wrote this song, and I want to play it for you. It's called Belle la Vie, which means the beautiful life or the beautiful way. And it's a unique song. You'll appreciate this because you're a musician, piano player. It doesn't have a melody, but every time people hear it, they swear they hear a melody. And it just kind of flows. And that's what I like about my relationship with my wife, is that it just feels like whether we're here or up or down or over, we're just kind of in a groove. And so I wrote it influenced a bit by Bach, but the chords just kind of meld from happy to sad to pensive to whatever. The song's called Belle Vie. I'll play it for you now.
Oh, I can't wait. Beautiful. I love the major resolve at the end.
That's called a Picardy third for you music fans. Third. Don't know why, but I learned that at BYU.
Oh, I could hear the Bach. I love to hear that. And I kind of like watching your iPad as you go. I want to ask you about your creative process. Yeah. When you're composing that, are you playing it in? Are you entering manually each note? What's your process like?
My process on the technical side, I have a sequencer, which is like Pro Tools or Logic or any of those. It's like a music input. It plays and it remembers your MIDI notes. Yeah. So that's happening. On another screen, I have music engraving software. Used to be Finale, which has now gone out of business. So it's Dorico. Okay. And so I kind of do both at the same time. I don't use pencil and paper, which is how I started. Now it's all in the computer. But I'll write, I'll write a little something and then I'll sequence it so I can hear it. And especially when I do orchestral stuff, because I got the big orchestra set up. Yeah. And then if I like the string, I'll say, I'm going to put a string run. I'll write that into the engraving software over here, and then I'll play it into the sequencer. So there's pretty nerdy stuff.
Sounds complicated.
Some of your fans your listeners will know. I'm sure you have fans.
Oh, we're hoping.
But I think some of your listeners will know what I'm talking about. It's like GarageBand. Yeah. I for those that have Macs. So that's what I do. Most of the music I write now is for, when I'm not doing my own stuff, is for other people. I arrange music for people.
Yeah.
People like Andrea Bocelli or Caroline Campbell as a violinist, Jenny Oaks Baker, the local folks know her. I do lots of stuff like that where I have to mock up an orchestra, and then the producer or the artist listens and says, I like that. Can you take it up a step or whatever? So I do all that in my computers, and then I print out the music, send it to the orchestra, or go into the studio and record it. Most of my world surrounds classical-ish stuff now, kind of classical crossover. That's kind of what I'm good at. I do play jazz. I like jazz, and I do that. I like all kinds of music. With a 17-year-old daughter, you get exposed to a lot of music. So I do enjoy that. As a trumpet player, I kind of grew up playing jazz and kind of funk and R&B. I love that. Earth, Wind and Fire, all that kind of stuff that your dad might know.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions right now because this is making me excited. When you're playing in a concert, are you typically playing off sheet music? Do you memorize? Like, what's your...
I am a terrible memorizer because I write so much music. I honestly struggle with memorizing. Yeah. So I use an iPad and I hang it up top of the piano. You can't hardly see from the audience. Not that I would mind.
Yeah.
Before iPads came out, I actually was on the board of a company that had a Music Pad Pro, they called it.
Cool.
And it was like a predecessor to the iPad. But yeah, I use an iPad and I have chords. Mostly I don't write out every note. Okay. I just write out melody and then I put a chord.
Left-hand chord.
So that I kind of, make it up as I go. Yeah. And even songs that I've played for a long time, every time I play them slightly different.
That was another question.
Bring a Torch to Isabella, which comes off of Eris Christmas. That one I probably pretty much play the way I wrote it. But I never play with a track. I find that to be just shackling to me.
Yeah.
So I never play with a backing track. So if you come to a Kurt Bestor concert, you're going to hear live music, warts and all. Hopefully,
it's real though.
But if I want to pause and retard a little bit more there, maybe the audience and I were feeling a little certain kind of way, so I take a little extra time. Or maybe the singer has sung this most exquisite note, then I have to pause a little longer than normal to just let it settle. You can't do that with a track.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm the last guy in the world not to use a click track and music backing tracks. They just rub me the wrong way.
I love to hear how different artists do it. Do you have any type of mental routine that you go through before a concert?
Well, I used to get all jacked up. I used to do jumping jacks and I used to run around and I get all hyper and then I go on stage and I be and that really is not the right way to do it. So I prepare for my concerts unbelievably. I go through all the notes. I go through all the musicians' notes. I think about it. And so by the time I'm ready for my concert, I just chat with the orchestra about anything. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Yeah.
Or I'm hungry or what? I just don't think about it. And I walk on stage and I'm very comfortable. I'm nervous. I still get nervous, but it's a measured nervous.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm going to be okay. And I love actually in my concerts, I like when something messes up. I like when something happens that I wasn't expecting.
That human element.
I will say I don't think I've ever said this in public before. I have nightmares that I'm bombing on stage. Like I have this all the time. I dream that I'm standing on stage at the Eccles. The audience is there and I screw up and I can't find the music and I'm going, and nobody's laughing. And then people start walking out. I have that dream all the time.
Do you really?
I do. And it kind of is maybe why I over prepare.
Yeah.
I'm very prepared when I do a show or a recording session or anything.
Yeah.
I make sure I think about it. Then it allows you when you're on stage to relax. You know the songs are going to work. And then I don't ever plan what I'm going to say on stage. I just kind of go with whatever I'm saying, which can lead to some embarrassing moments, but I have embarrassed myself more than a few times on stage.
That's memorable though.
It is. Well, to people, not only people on stage, but people in the audience, they go, wow, I was there when, Kurt Bestor's zipper was down or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Things happen.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to hear. It's cool to hear your mental routine. I'm a mom of 5. I mostly just play in church now. I used to play at the Roof Restaurant downtown Salt Lake City.
It's back.
It is back.
But not the piano.
I know.
That's
and I
wrong.
gave them a hard time
That's
about
wrong.
that.
I know. Who do I talk to?
They told me because they moved it over onto the garden side. And so there's 2 sides of the restaurant now and the piano wouldn't reach to both sides.
So where is the piano?
I don't know, but I actually think there should be 2 pianos, but I don't blame them. Staffing that was hard, I think.
It's a conspiracy, man.
It's a conspiracy. But what I was going to say is I now just normally play at church and I play, I'm kind of a hybrid. I love to play, I can read sheet music really well, but I actually love chording. Right. So the fake book approach of like the right hand and the chords. So it's fun to hear you say that. But when I play in church, I'll be sitting in the pew with my family. I've got kids climbing all over me. And I started to tell my husband, I need a good 10 minutes of quiet time before I go up, or I go up too flustered.
Right.
And so I love to hear where your mental state is at. Earlier in the interview, you referenced something where, let me get to it really quick. You said, you were talking about how when you were asked to play for the Osmonds, you were like, okay, you're jumping into it feeling like you're maybe not ready. And that's kind of a common theme that we have on this show is taking that leap of faith before you feel really qualified to do so. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in that. Be scared. You need to be scared. Don't be comfortable because that usually shows a lack of growth. Push yourself. I mean, don't suddenly say, I can speak Portuguese next week. I mean, be realistic. But I knew that I could do it. But I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that I probably could do it if I went out and found out the transpositions for the saxophones, found out, the way that the chords lay best. What do I do for the guitar? I learned how to put slashes on at that time. And I learned about chording, and I grew. So I always tell people, I said, you can't be everything to everybody, but you could be a lot more than you think you can.
Yeah.
And, my career was going to be film scoring, but I took a chance, did an album, booked a Bravenel Hall and got scared, but then rose to the occasion. Now I have my 38 years. If I went back to that first year, I'd probably go, "Ooh, wow, that wasn't as good as I'd like it to be," because I'm progressing. I'm better than I was. I'm bester than I was.
You're bester.
So you have to always just say, I need to push myself. I need to be scared.
Yeah.
And then, but then, man, when you do it, then you go, and you give yourself a little while to enjoy that next step you took.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, that I'm a big John Williams fan, and John Williams at the age of 94 is writing music that's more complex and more interesting to him and to hopefully us than it was when he was in his 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
So that's important to me. It is difficult though, because when I do my concerts, people want to hear the hits. They want to hear the stuff I wrote in 1988.
Yeah.
What Child Is This is a popular one. And I like playing it. I'm not embarrassed. It's not like, oh, I was so immature. I feel I'm very proud of that piece. But what I really like to do may leave some people in the dust. I mean, stuff that I want to do now. So I do have to realize that I am writing music for people, not just myself. But I like to pull them along with me a little bit.
Yeah. It's cool to hear. I keep thinking of, this morning I woke up, I usually wake up early the morning of an interview, and I'm 10 episodes into this show. And this was the first morning that I woke up without a panicked feeling, because I'm not a podcaster. I'm a musician. I'm a mom. I'm all these things.
But you're a real person whose podcasts are really good, which is why I'm here.
Well, thank you. I just feel like there's something that comes with just taking that leap of faith, and then confidence comes along the way, and you evolve. And you said at the beginning, well, what used to just make me fall to the floor and sob because it felt like such a daunting task, you could probably do it no problem now. And what does that evolution come with for you? How does the confidence grow?
Well, the confidence grows because you say, all right, I'm going to do something scary. And then you do it and it's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
So you grew.
Yeah.
Also, getting to do the thing that was scary means that in my case, I have to learn about a new instrument that I might not know.
Yeah.
I might be working with some world-class star with an ego.
Yeah.
That scares me. But then I learn how to work with him or her. And I've been working on some violin music and I'm trying to learn some of the string crossings to make my arrangements better. I could just write notes and hope they can play it. But how much better would it be if I wrote something that really was fit the violin? Yeah. And I take pride in that. So I'm studying. I laugh. I have all these friends that are retiring and it's ridiculous. What would I do? If I retired, I'd write music.
Yeah.
It's like, so,
you're doing it.
But I want to be curious. I want to stay curious. I want to challenge myself, frighten myself. I like to use the word frighten because it suggests some emotion. I want to frighten myself into a next step. There's a lot I need to learn. Yeah.
Well, I like to hear that you're still doing that and challenging yourself. I think a lot of times we go through life thinking that we're going to arrive, and that we'll just be somewhere, and it's never going to be that. We're always going to be striving for the next level.
For people who are religious, they, especially in the culture we live in here, the LDS culture, eternal progression, that is a thing. And I don't know. I have lots of kind of bizarre feelings about, if eternal progression is eternal, then I guess we never arrive at perfection. But that sounds blasphemous. But that's the way I live, at least on this earth. Yeah. Is I'm just going to keep pushing myself. Otherwise, it'd be boring. It would be boring. I'd be bored with myself if I just wrote the same old thing.
You've had the opportunity to work and collaborate with a lot of different people and artists. It astounds me that you're writing all these instruments, violin to, I saw you playing, what was it? Was it Irish Bones the other day?
Bones and Bowron, which is an Irish drum. I just played that in concert on last Friday.
And you're honing your skill, you're practicing it. But I'm curious if you'll speak to some of these collaborations, the people you've gotten to work with. What stands out to you?
It's funny. The collaborations that I do are my favorite things. Because it takes trust. The people you work with have to trust that you that you're going to treat their baby well. Yeah. Whether it's their voice or their violin or maybe a song they've written on piano and they want you to put it into orchestral form, they trust you, and that's not easily gained. Luckily, I've been pretty successful with that. Names don't mean that much to me anymore. So, I mentioned Andrea Bocelli and a couple other names, but I find that status in the music business doesn't mean very much, except that some of the people that I work with have the status because they are really good at what they do. Yeah. So I'll mention, Jenny Oaksbaker. She's a local person here in Utah where we live, who is truly honed her craft to where she can capture my art when I write for her. Yeah. Even better than I've imagined. I've written some songs for her. I'm trying to think. "Near My God to Thee" was an arrangement I did for her that is probably one of my favorite arrangements. I wrote something very. She lost her mom, to cancer, and I said, I want you to imagine that you're just rising up near my God to thee and also my mom, so I wrote this thing and she had to trust me with her emotions. I had to trust her that she could play it. I know how good she is. And then, that collaboration is very special. When I'm in the studio recording with her or with other people, it's really a choice thing to be able to do that. Music is not what I do for a living. It's who I am. Music is not what Jenny does for a living. It's who she is. And so we're really combining our souls and our feelings. Sometimes, she's very different than I am. I'm more about emotions. And she's more about technical. Yeah. And so she's told me that I'm good for her because sometimes I will say, I remember doing an arrangement of Baby Mine for her. And she played it, great first time, no mistakes, perfectly in tune. But it wasn't, for me, it didn't have quite the emotional edge that I thought it should have. Yeah. And she was kind of taken back by that because it's like, well, Kurt, I played it perfectly. I said, no. Yeah. I said, I don't mind if you make a mistake. I want to hear a perfect emotion. I want to hear. So I told her a story about, about her mom, because it's a lullaby. And I said, imagine not just your mom singing to you a lullaby, but you singing to your mom as she has her last breath, on earth.
Yeah.
Imagine that and play it. And she did. And it was really great. And so the collaborations I've had over the years, and they're just too numerous to mention. And plus it all sounds like name dropping, but you can Google it.
Yeah.
They've all come with really interesting stories. I did coin a word though. Your father could probably take this and run with it, and you too with your music schools and stuff. Musicchiatry.
Okay.
When you work with other people, you know the notes, you know the instruments, you know the arrangement, you know all that stuff. But now you have to learn how that person communicates. Can I tell her she's out of tune? Can I just, or do I need to wear kit gloves?
Yeah.
There's just so many things to consider when someone basically, shows their full self to you in the studio. You have to be careful with that. You can't, and some people just go, do it again. It was sharp. Do it again. It was flat. Well, pretty soon that person's like beat up.
Yeah.
I made Marie Osmond cry once in the studio because I hadn't learned the art of musicchiatry.
Yeah.
I kept saying, that's good, Marie. Let's do it again. It was out of tune. Yeah, a little behind the beat, Marie. Can we do it again? And finally, she started to cry. And finally, her manager came over and said, hey, Kurt, go easy. I mean, man, she's doing her best.
Yeah. Tackle this in a different
so
way.
I think collaborations are great. And I've learned a lot from people. Hopefully they like collaborating with me. And it's how I make my living. From one collaboration to the next, somebody hears, like through Jenny O. Baker, Caroline Campbell heard about me. And then through Caroline Campbell, Bocelli heard about me.
Really?
So kind of, it's who you know.
It's the networking.
Who you hug. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really powerful. Honestly, I think something I admire in you is not only your talent, but I think your social intelligence, your ability to manage those, I guess, friendships and manage the relationships. It's all part of it. Don't burn any bridges. I'm a bit obnoxious sometimes because I talk so much, but I'm, I can teachable. I can apologize. Yeah.
I think about my musicians when they're playing. It's like, oh, do you guys need a break? Think about other people. And in the collaboration, you're working with other people, be kind to them. Think about them. And I'm always really cognizant when I'm in front of an orchestra. I make jokes. I try to make them, think that, well, I screwed up that little downbeat or whatever. And they're not used to that. Yeah. But they appreciate it. And when they like you, they play better.
Yeah. They want to be there.
So yeah, musicchiatry.
Musicchiatry. I'm going to use it, as a piano teacher myself.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. You need to deliver feedback. You need to deliver correction, but there's always a way to do it that inspires instead of,
Had that teacher at the very beginning of our interview, we talked about that teacher who said you can play it this way. Mm-hmm. Had she just said, Kurt, that is wrong. You are playing it. That's not what's on the paper. You need to play it right. Now do it again. Yeah. That might have stunted me. Yeah. But she said, oh, I see something. Now, not every kid's like that. Yeah. Not every one of your students is like that. Right. Some of them will cry if you just say, oh, I missed a note. Yeah. I mean, they'll feel bad. And you just say, hey, Yeah. It's meeting each of them where they're at, I think. That's why. And learning how to do that. Absolutely. We sometimes hire teachers, they have a Juilliard degree. And when it comes into the classroom, they're not our best teachers because they can't capture that. And so there's something to be said for it. God bless the teachers. You and I both mentioned earlier that we have teachers that we owe our music and other things to. And, I've paid homage to them in concert before. Most of them are still alive, but that I think I'm going to go home and write them a note. Because just as I think about it, it's like, wow, Kurt, you've been really blessed by these people. What aspect of being a musician do you find the most enjoyment and fulfillment in? Arranging, composing, performing, what is it that you just love? Yeah. Because I do so many things in the music business, it's hard to pinpoint what I really love doing most. I love arranging and composing music, but nothing beats performing that music. Mm-hmm. So performing my own music is probably the pinnacle. the times when I've written something, I'm going to be doing an original ballet that I did.
Wow.
Called The Secret Garden, based on The Secret Garden. And I haven't performed it for about 6 years, but I'm going to conduct it almost for nothing because I just love standing there doing the downbeat and the strings come in with my music. I have a story that'll demonstrate why that's so powerful, probably to me and every other composer. And it's how I define eternal life in music. I don't often understand, what's in the cosmos. I don't really understand all the different ideologies. But I was in England listening to Dixit Dominus by Handel, one of my favorites. I like a lot of it better than the Messiah even. But I was listening to in Greenock, England, in a church where he had performed. And I'm listening to the song, and I suddenly thought, oh, wow, I am listening to his notes as alive now as they were when he wrote them. He's passed on, but those notes played by musicians are that's his brain. That's his whatever, his spirit, his brain. They're alive. Mm-hmm. That part of him is still living and going on. And wow, did that hit me? That made me just realize how powerful it is. Music is like doing a painting but seeing it come alive all at once.
Yeah.
Rather than painting and you see it come alive a little at a time. I put the notes on paper and I stand in front of the Utah Symphony or something and go like this, and me comes back at me.
Yeah.
And hopefully the audience enjoys it as well. But I love enjoying that creative thing. And it's not about like, hey, look at me, I'm cool.
Right.
But it's like, I know the pain that it took to get those notes and the emotion that I felt and why the notes were chosen. And now I hear it, and yes, it worked. And that's probably my favorite thing. Yeah.
That's got to be so fulfilling.
Performing my own compositions. Probably more than recording, to be honest.
Really?
Recording is a moment in time. It is my song being recorded, and yeah, it's probably perfect, but live performing with all these musicians playing your notes and adding their spirit, their feelings, their whatever you want to call it, they're making it better. It's take that AI.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
All the violins are playing my notes, but they're doing it in a way that is even better than I thought. If it's a good orchestra, and it's like, man, wow. It's a drug I never get tired of taking.
Yeah. It's really powerful to think that. I know that when I participate in music, almost selfishly, like I joke a lot on this show that I really want to be in the Tabernacle Choir. And the reason why is it's selfish. Like I want to be part of those experiences where you just feel it.
Do it.
I don't have a symphony.
I'll watch your kids on Thursday nights.
I'm like, Kurt, do you mind?
Kurt's coming over so I can go sing with the Tab Choir.
I just love being part of those moments where you feel it, and you can't replicate that with, like you said, technology. Right. And also, there's something about being together, unified in a moment. These things with music, they're so hard to put words to, like how it makes you feel. In the show, I try to do it all the time to like capture what it is about it that's so special. But I think you kind of summed it up.
Everybody, we can't always explain. I can't even really explain how music comes out of me. I can't really explain it. I know how to do it, and I think I got a pretty good handle. When I'm really composing something from the heart, it's like I'm in a flow state.
Yeah.
I am just, time goes by.
Yeah.
I remember the story behind Prayer of the Children, for example, the song that I'm probably most known for.
Yeah.
Is that song didn't come about because somebody hired me. That song didn't come about for any other reason. I bought a piece of gear, piece of sound that I sing into, and it split my voice into parts.
Okay.
And those that have heard me do that.
What's that called?
It's called a vocoder.
Okay, I've heard of that.
It's not just one synthesizer, but it's a vocoder setting, and it just uses MIDI to split my voice into parts.
Yeah.
And so I had that, and I was messing around with it. But on the news channel was the war in Yugoslavia broke out. Having gone on a LDS mission there, I really listened. I said, oh my gosh, the people in Serbia hated the people in Croatia, didn't like the people in Bosnia. Mm-hmm. These are my people. I love them. So I as I was messing around with this piece of gear, I started to just I did this little snippet. And it was kind of almost a Celtic thing. Dum-ba-da-dee. And then thinking about the war that was breaking out, I painted a picture of, can you hear the prayer of the children? And I'm thinking they're on bended knee in the shadow of an unknown room, empty eyes with no more tears to cry, turning heavenward toward the light. That was how it started. It started by me painting a picture with this machine, and it sounded kind of cool, kind of mystical, kind of Gregorian chant. So then I thought, well, can you hear the prayer of the children? Then can you feel, I went kind of through the different senses, can you feel the hearts of the children aching for home, for something of their very own, reaching hands with nothing to hold on to but hope for a better day. And so that song, I wrote it, and I think I might have sang it for my wife, but I put it away. I didn't even sing it for like 2 years. It was just, really? I just did it out of frustration, and music is good doing that. And then I sang it on a concert on a whim. I didn't have enough music to fill up a whole concert, and I did the song. And the reaction was kind of stunning. And I'm not saying it's the best song in the world. It just hits a nerve for whatever reason. I'm using the same notes as all the other notes. Yeah. And the words, but the combination of words, emotion, notes, and the people that perform it has an effect. And that effect, when I first played it, it was almost weird. It was like I ended the song, and then there was like a lag. And I thought, oh, wow. Probably pretty bad. No, then the audience applauded like
you just had to process for a split second.
You've experienced that, I'm sure, where someone just blows you away with something, and you go, wow. And again, I'm not saying it's the world's greatest song. It just hit a nerve about a certain thing that we all think about, children suffering. Then the song started taking off. It was on an album called Innovators. That was 35 years ago, something like that. 33 years ago, maybe. Anyway, the song took off, and somebody did an arrangement of it. A lady up in Oregon did a SSA version, and which I approved, and they started singing it. And then it started being sung at all-state choir and those kind of things. Yeah. And pretty soon the song, to this day, it gets sung. Every day I get a note from somebody saying, oh, we sang this, and in our country, in Norway, we sang this. Somebody sent me a YouTube video from Russia.
Really?
The Conservatory of Russia men's chorus sang it. And that's all you could ever want as a musician, is for your message, whether it's lyrics or not, can come through and do what it does. It's why I love music. Music to me isn't just notes. It's emotions. It's deep feelings. It's the space between the words, like I said. Yeah,
I have a lot of memories growing up. My parents would play it. I'm guessing it was on cassette tape or something, but probably. In the car, they would play that. We'd drive up to our grandparents' house, and when it comes on, even now, it's on my Spotify playlist, which I share every Sunday. But when I hear it even now, it just brings you. It brings you memories and feelings, like you're referring to, of what all of us are hoping, which is peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen a really cool thing that you've done, which is where you change out the words into different languages. Will you talk about that?
Well, the song was written about Yugoslavia. Well, that war is done. The civil war there has been completed. But it suddenly occurred to me, people were singing the song for other things. Yeah. The Harlem Boys Choir was singing this song at 9/11 commemoration every year. Yeah. So it was sung in the Columbine commemoration. It gets sung and used for purposes like that. And then, so when the war in Ukraine broke out, I suddenly thought, I'll translate it into Ukrainian. And I did kind of a phonetic thing, and people can sing it in Ukrainian. Then when the war broke out between Israel and Palestinians and Gaza and so forth, I said, I'm going to put it in both languages.
That's cool.
Because there's no winner. There's not a team. It's the children of Gaza are just as wonderful and deserving of love and life as the children in Israel. Yeah. So I've written it both ways. And I did one other thing, and people, looks my song, I can do what I want, but people have taken umbrage with it, but I don't think they understand. I've also allowed people, like if you're singing my song for an audience of Jewish people, they will get hung up by you singing Crying Jesus, because that's not where their faith comes from. And they believe strongly in their faith. So I've given some alternatives that people can sing so they don't get hung up on their religion. It doesn't mean that you can't, it doesn't take the Jesus out of the song. It just puts some other, I want people to know that everyone cries for peace. Everybody wants that. So there's a group called Three Dog Night that sings my song, who I grew up listening to. They're a super group. They're as big as it gets.
Yeah.
And they've chosen to sing Crying Softly, Help Me, or crying, instead of crying softly, help me to see the morning light. And I'm okay with that because the song still, I know what I put in there. I said Crying Jesus. Yeah. But I'm not trying to force that on the whole entire world. Yeah. Some people take umbrage with that. They think I'm selling out. I'm not. That's just trying to make I want to make the tent bigger for people.
I see that. And I think, like, when you were talking about, the Palestine-Israel situation, it's a pretty sobering thought to think of the children on both sides. Yeah. They're innocent and they want the same thing. Which is peace.
No, when you think about it, I'm kind of a peacenik here, but when you think about war, I can't even really, except for defense of your family or something, I can't think of too many reasons now why we should go to war. And I look at it, well, it's for money, it's for power, it's for oil, it's for this, it's for that. It's ridiculous. But, we should just love all the children of the world, and we should just say, we should lead with love. And that's what I do as a musician. I want to lead with love. I say, you're from a country I'm supposed to hate. I actually have a dream. This is weird. I'm just blabbing. I want to go to North Korea and play music. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I couldn't go because it's illegal now to go as an American, but I want to go, and I want music. I want music to say what I want it to say. Yeah. I want it to say, I know you're suffering over here, but let's not talk about this or that. I just want you to feel love. Yeah. And that's what Prayer of the Children's about. So yeah.
I want to hear that. We're going to play that now.
Can you hear the prayer of the children on bended knee in the shadow of an unknown room? Empty eyes with no more tears to cry, turning heavenward toward the light. Cry softly, help me to see the morning light of one more day. But if I should die before I wake, I pray my soul to take. Can you feel the heart of the children aching for home, for something of their very own, reaching hands with nothing to hold on to, but hope for a better day, a better day. Cry softly, help me to feel the love again in my own land. But if unknown roads lead away from home, give me loving arms away from home. Ooh, oh, 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 what can you hear the voice of the children softly pleading for silence in a shattered world? Angry God, preach a gospel full of hate, blood of the innocent on their hands, crying, Jesus, help me to feel the sun again upon my face. For when darkness clears, I know you're near, bringing peace again. Dali czujete, svedie się modlitwę. Can you hear the prayer of the children?
You've used your music over the years to support countless different causes, from children's hospitals to international relief efforts. What drives you to intertwine your music with philanthropy?
If I had my druthers, I would find some rich person to pay for my life, and then I would just do music for free all over. I would go to schools and do it to help children. I always go to Primary Children's Hospital and use it up there. I had two daughters, or I have two daughters that were born with spina bifida, and so I owe a lot to Primary Children's. I tend to use my philanthropy to just take my music to people who wouldn't normally hear it, to make them feel better or to make them think about something. I performed for the Utah State Legislature. I called them up and I said, hey, I'd love to perform Prayer of the Children before your session.
Wow.
And I did that because I wanted to say something. I wanted to say, lead with love.
Yeah.
Think about the kids. Think about, and all these things you're doing. Don't get hung up. Don't just think about that.
Yeah.
And so I let the song do my thing. Anyway, I love, I don't know. I think money is obnoxious. We need it, but we spend way too much time, chasing after it.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't have to do it. I have to make money like everybody else, but I really would just love to just play music and just make people smile, make people cry, make people think, make people love.
Yeah. You and I should partner up one day because I don't care about money either. And luckily my husband always tells me, well, there's no mission without money. And so he's come in and he's, got our business in a place where our employees are being paid and things, but I'm always like, I don't care about that. There's this bigger underlying thing that music does. So one day we'll partner up. We'll partner up on a mission of a concert.
And we'll let your husband pay for it.
Perfect. He'll love that.
I'm sure he will.
Brady, you hear that? Kurt Bestor wants you to pay for it. We're going to go on a mission. No, I have a dream. I have a hope one day, and I'll put it out right now because it's manifesting into the universe. But I would love to go take our music educators into places that are underprivileged or don't have the resources to have music lessons and do a mission trip type thing, where we bring people in. And
there's some great movies out there, and Causes, a movie about children in Brazil in the slums. There's another one about Uganda where these kids start an orchestra in Uganda and they're from the slums. But it doesn't happen very often because it's just hard to do. But I'm with you. Just, you know how to reach me.
Remember this conversation because one day we might need to cash in and go make something happen. Okay, this is a question I love to ask all musicians that come on our show. This is with our music students in mind. But why do you think learning a musical instrument is a worthwhile pursuit?
I've always felt that music in general is worth pursuing. Oftentimes in education, people look at music as kind of a frivolous little thing. Oh, that's nice. You sing in the choir. Oh, that's nice. But you got to go and do your math. You got to do all that. I'll answer the question about instruments in two ways. Number one, to learn an instrument is not instant gratification. We live in a world of, swipe right, whatever, instant gratification. But to learn an instrument takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes a passion that you might not have at the beginning. Well, you usually do at the beginning, and then after about 6 months, you don't. But it takes that constant steady growth, that's worth knowing how to do in everything you do. So that's one thing. Number two, like I've said a couple times today, music is kind of a more pure communicative thing. And when you're trying to communicate your feelings, you might be the shyest person in the world. You may be stutter, but when you pull out your violin or your piano and you play, you're saying a lot with some instrument. The last thing that I think music is, instruments are worth pursuing, because when you're sitting, say you're in a band or an orchestra, you're playing violin, somebody's playing viola, somebody's playing cello, you're having to listen to them. You're having to tune to them, with them. You're having to play in the same rhythm, get the same volume, and you're having to follow a leader, but you're all doing it together. I mean, that is analogous to so many things that are helpful in your life. How to get along with that employee, how to be in tune with your teacher, how to be, learn how to be in sync with your husband or whatever. Music is just proven time and time again that it is who we are. And we can't take that out. We take that out and then we're just robots earning money, And lastly, teaching kids to be creative. You want someone to come up with a solution to your problems in your community, in your workplace. Look to a musician or look to somebody who's learned how to be creative, to think outside the box. Yeah, they're a little weird. I know I'm weird, but we need weirdness in order so that we don't just stay the same. Otherwise, we all look alike. We dress alike. We buy the same cars. Weird's good. Be weird.
I really like that. We were talking about AI earlier. I loved how you said, take that AI, because I feel like there's just this element where you can plug, music is like, it's math, right? It's just, there's a pattern that will happen and that doesn't leave room for an error. And sometimes in the error or in the gray or the in-between is where the magic is.
I have been preaching that, because people ask me the AI thing all the time. When I write music, here's something, just for all of you that want to talk about AI with your friends. When you write music, you think you're going to play this note, and you end up playing a wrong note. But then you go, wait a second. I like that. Yeah. You just did two things that a computer won't do. Computer is not going to make a mistake unless you program it to alter, but that's not a mistake. But the other thing is the computer can't go, I like that. I will keep that. Yeah. It can only say, well, in the past, this is what has made a song work. And that's why, it works. These derivatives, they're pretty amazing sometimes. But that, how did Picasso go from being kind of a realist painter to cubist? A computer's not going to go, I think I'll just do that. Yeah. Same thing with music. We'd be doing Gregorian chant if nobody said, I think I want to just put a little chromaticism.
We need innovation.
And so that's what creatives are good doing. Yeah. And I say creatives, meaning almost everybody can do that. Yeah. In whatever you do. Yeah. We're just, as musicians, we're a little more noticeable. Yeah. But that spirit of creativity is what drives us forward. Yeah.
I liked how I heard you say on a different podcast that creation is a human thing. Yeah. And it is. Yeah. Because I think of the kids, that we're teaching, and they have to learn by mistake, learn by error. And then that feeling that you're talking about, putting your heart into something, that's the hardest thing for me to teach, a young student. Get your heart in there. And I liked how I heard you talk about Jenny, which is you have to almost turn a mindset. Think of something that you feel strongly about. I'm going to use that with my students, but those are the elements that make music music. And so I've loved to hear you say that you don't feel threatened by AI coming in and taking.
It's a great tool. I use it all the time. Yeah. I actually use it for lots of things I could bore everybody with, but it's a great tool, but it's not going to take the human out of me. It's not going to say, it just can't. It's great. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. It's amazing what it does. And I've been able to use it in my music world.
What legacy, Kurt, do you hope to leave behind with your music? That's one of the coolest things we've talked about today, is that it gets to stay here forever.
I don't, it's funny. I think legacy is to be determined by people looking at me, not me looking at myself in the mirror. Mm-hmm. I want to do what I do. And if it sticks, that's great. We talk about Prayer of the Children, songs like that. Mm-hmm. I learned I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that I could write something that would have an impact like that. So if that song or other things stay with people, like I said, Handel's 400 years after, his voice notes are still spinning around.
Yeah.
Gershwin, I mean, name, half the Beatles. I don't know, legacy sounds like I'm going to build a monument to myself. And I'm not that type. I just want to be known as a composer that was human and led with love. I've said that word a lot. I lead with love, because you can't really go wrong when you do that. It breaks down lots of barriers. So I guess my legacy will be that, put the word love. Kurt Bestor died. Love, right on the headstone. No, well,
I think
whatever.
Kurt, I've observed you, and I love that you have a big personality that's also balanced. Sometimes you'd think it would come with ego, and I've just found with you it does not. You are very humble,
very sweet.
And I know that's not a fun thing to hear someone say when you are humble.
I like to hear it, but I can't admit that. No.
But I know that the music that you've put out is not about you, and there's times where I heard you when you did the Prayer of the Children in concert where you sang it.
Right.
This isn't about me, is what you had said in regard to that. And that's evident. And I think it's just such a gift that we all get to take, is this fun, big, entertaining personality with someone as humble and as talented as you.
Thank you.
What is left on the bucket list? What projects do you still want to accomplish?
I don't really have a bucket list. I mean, I don't really think of a bucket list, because the buckets have a limit of what you could put inside. I just want to I want to be a better Bestor. I just want to be a better, I just want to capture the deepest feelings, good, bad, and ugly, and just be able to express them in a way that just gets people to feel. And I'm not there yet, So I don't really have I'd love to score a movie for Steven Spielberg. I'd love to do all that, but I don't have bucket listy things. I just want to continue doing what I do at a much better level, and take a day off once in a while.
just to hit the slopes every once in a while.
Once in a while. Well, and when I go skiing, that's I can write that off, because I'm getting inspiration for music.
Yeah, it is. You need the rest to be able to have the inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, thank you so much for being here. This has been an absolute pleasure for me.
My pleasure.
I want to have you just tell the followers, the listeners, where they can go to find you, to connect with you.
Usually at Smith's.
Your favorite grocery store.
Google me, kurtbestor.com.
You have Instagram. I love to follow you. You're a good follow.
I got Instagram. Gonna amp that up, but hopefully I'll still just be me. I don't know. You know how to find me, everybody. You just Google the heck out of me. Well, don't believe everything you read.
I'll be at that Christmas concert this December, and we look forward to seeing what else you do with your career.
Well, thanks.
You've been listening to More Than Musicians. Thanks so much for being here. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. If this episode meant something to you, please go ahead, share, subscribe, rate, or leave a review. It helps us more than you'll ever know. And if you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. Lastly, a huge thank you to Talmadge Thane and his team at Film Lab. They're who make this show possible.